councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
In Dallas, Texas, 3 shots were fired at President Kennedy's motorcade in downtown Dallas. The first reports say that President Kennedy has been seriously wounded by this shooting.
It is a big idea, a new world order.
It was almost as if it were a planned implosion. It just pancaked.
Either you are with us or you are with the terrorists.
But I also believe that a lot of gun owners would agree that AK-47s belong in the hands of soldiers, not in the hands of criminals.
Guns will be taken. No one will be able to be armed. We have to take all guns.
For many of the police and guard troops, it is an uncomfortable job to do this in an American city.
Global governance at last. Is it one world? The central bankers in charge. But aren't we all just living and dying for what the central banks do?
As for me, give me liberty or give me death!
The answer to 1984 is 1776.
Welcome to the INFOWARS Nightly News this Wednesday, September 18th, 2013. I'm Gigi Arnetta. Here's what tops the news tonight.
Tonight, breaking news that a SWAT team was told to stand down as the Navy Yard shooting was in progress. Then, the controlled media buries the connection of psychiatric drugs to the Navy shooter. And a high-profile church leader ignores the human soul and demonizes guns. All that and more on tonight's INFOWARS Nightly News.
At the Navy Yard, the SWAT team stood down. They were told to stand down at the mass shooting. A tactical response team of the Capitol Police, a force that guards the U.S. Capitol complex, was told to leave the scene by a supervisor instead of aiding municipal officers. Multiple sources in the Capitol Police Department have told the BBC that its highly trained and heavily armed 4-man containment and emergency response team, known as CERT, was near the Navy Yard when the initial report of an active shooter came in at about 8:20 local time. The officers were wearing full tactical gear and armed with HK-416 assault weapons. They arrived outside Building 197 a few minutes later. An official with the knowledge of the incident told the BBC. Wow, the outcome of this thing would have been a lot different, I think, if they would have been able to do their job. Of course, hindsight is 20/20, right? Another thing we're not hearing very much about is the fact that he was on a psychiatric drug, and they're not really discussing it in the media at all. Despite every indication that the Navy Yard shooter, Aaron Alexis, was on SSRI drugs that have been linked to dozens of previous mass shootings, the mainstream media has once again avoided all discussion of the issue, preferring instead to blame the tragedy on a non-existent AR-15 that the gunman didn't even use. Now, Alexis suffered from PTSD, blackouts, and anger issues, all of which are treated with SSRI drugs. And the most common form of treatment for PTSD is paroxetine, which is listed as the #3 top violence-causing drug by the Institute for Safe Medication Practices, also known as the ISMP. Now, with PTSD, taking drugs like this can be very risky because there are a lot of side effects, and some of them are very, very adverse. But the other thing they're not talking about is why this guy was able to get a security clearance. It's not easy to just get a secret security clearance, but for some reason he made it through the system despite all his issues. Now, the official story ignores the intelligence connection and pushes gun and mental illness propaganda ahead of the next attack on the Second Amendment. Now, Hoshko actually works. Hoshko, a central figure in subtracted military information technology, said that he has questions, too, about this whole thing. He says he's working with authorities to figure out why somebody didn't see a pattern or certainly flag this back in 2007 when all this other stuff happened with him. Now, he's known to have misconduct and a couple of run-ins with the police, and also that he has PTSD. But when you get a security clearance, these things actually get in the way of you getting a clearance. Let's take a look at how to get a security clearance. Now, the first thing an applicant has to do, obviously, is go through the basic application process, which includes your verification of U.S. citizenship and fingerprinting. The last part is the adjudication phase, during which findings from the investigation are reviewed and evaluated based on 13 factors. Now, some of these factors are your criminal background and personal conduct, which obviously didn't happen here, your history of substance abuse, and any mental disorders. And of course, now with this gentleman, there was personal conduct issues reported in the Navy and out of the Navy, substance abuse. He was a heavy drinker, they say, and also the mental disorder that that has been revealed, and also the mental disorder that was revealed in the last 24 hours that he was going through, and he had talked to the VA about that. There are a few other intrusive questions that come out, including you can also have a polygraph done to you and questions to your neighbors, which they did not do in this case, clearly. The Starbucks CEO says your gun is not welcome in his coffee shop. Now, they're not planning on actually stopping people with guns, but he says it's a gun-free zone, and the presence of a weapon in our stores is unsettling and upsetting for many of our customers. But to be clear, Starbucks will not slap an outright ban on guns, he says, because enforcing such a ban would potentially require our partners to confront armed customers. So even if people are carrying guns in the store, they are not going to approach you and tell you to get out. So this is probably a politically correct maneuver on his part. If you want to do your own research into these matters, you can go to prisonplanet.tv, and we have everything there. And you can also give your username and password to up to 10 people.
The Alex Jones channel is the official page of the InfoWar. But don't miss what's happening on our other channels. The Info Warrior, with the week's best videos. Prison Planet Live, where Paul Joseph Watson gives his expert analysis. And keep up with the rest of the InfoWars crew on our other pages. All of our videos are available to repost for educational purposes. See the sidebar of the Alex Jones channel for the subscription links. And remember, you can always find our videos in the highest quality by becoming a member of prisonplanet.tv.